Welcome to another Self-Love Sunday. I'm your host, Namibia, on this self-love journey. This is the podcast where we talk about love, healing, self-care, and information for inspiration. Before we get started, please like, share, and subscribe to the Self-Love Journey with Namibia YouTube channel and join us on Facebook in the group Self-Love Sundays. Let's get started. So, welcome to Self-Love Sundays. I'm here with my guest, Dr. Keanna Ralph. Thank you for coming.
Aw, thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here with you to talk about some very interesting topics today.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I have your book here, and it is such an interesting read. And this is our book for the month. So if you haven't gotten Detours to Destiny by Dr. Keanna Lynette Ralph, please get this book. It is a jewel, and it is so interesting. If you are on your self-love journey, you will find something there for you. So let's get into it. When did you write this book? Where were you when you were writing this book? What part of your journey?
Yeah, so I was in a very interesting space. In fact, I'm going to be honest with you and tell you that initially I did not want to write the book. And I think I'm going to share a little bit about that inside the book itself. I was just in transition is what I would say, you know, and it's funny because you'll find that you'll have multiple transitions through life,
yes.
Right? So I was just turning 30, and I remember a mentor at the time came to me and said, Keanna, you know, it's time for you to step out, write this book. I really believe God has something inside of you that, you know, he wants to share with the world. And I'm just like, me? Now? I mean, I could possibly see it in the future, but I didn't see it then because I just didn't feel like I had attained a level of success or anything worthy of having a book about. But you know, it's interesting. The more you live life, the more you realize that it's less about the destination and more about the journey.
Yes.
And so I just set out to share pieces of my journey in the book. And lo and behold, it turned out that I did have a few things to say in the process.
Absolutely. So what is Detours to Destiny? What is it?
So Detours to Destiny is a book that is focused on hope. It's about giving people, letting people know that there's always light at the end of the tunnel. No matter what you experience, no matter what you go through, that joy always comes in the morning. And you just have to have the right perspective. It's being able to understand that even our setbacks are really orchestrated to set us up for something greater. Excuse me. And so being able to have that mindset and be able to also do the work, right? So I talk about, you know, during my journey, a lot of it was self-discovery. Some of it was growth. It was about being able to see opportunities for growth, right? So in the Chinese language, the same word for crisis also means opportunity. And so, you know, I'm a firm believer in the fact that when challenges arise in our lives, that gives us an opportunity to grow, learn something new, and to improve and get better.
Absolutely. So I found a lot of things interesting, and I took some notes here.
I love note takers.
I took highlights, and I wrote all, this book is mine. You have to get your own. This book is definitely mine. So for me, in my self-love journey, I think we were in similar points. It was when you hit like ground zero, and there's nowhere else to go but up.
My God.
You know, and that turning point. Now you were very vulnerable. I mean, you just you were just letting it out. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
And the thing about Keanna, when you see her, that she's always smiling. You know, she's always just like bubbly. I've known her for years. She's always positive. And, you know, and one of my mentors said, if you see the glory, but you don't know the story.
Yes.
And this is her story. And she's had trials and tribulations and is willing to share what helped her. So you were at a point where there was nowhere to go but up.
Yes. Yeah. There's a quote that I love by Les Brown. And he says that, you know, when you feel that you've fallen and you hit rock bottom, if you can look up, then you can get up.
Right. And
that's even the encouragement I have for anyone listening. You know, life has a way of hitting us. Trust me. And this is just part one. There's been
I'm looking forward to this.
There's been multiple journeys in this thing we call life, right?
Right.
And one of the things that I've come to discover is that we have to be able to find that inner strength. And usually we find that inner strength when we go through the most difficult times. It's when you feel like giving up the most.
Right.
Is that when you discover what you're really made out of.
Right.
You know, it's in those weakest moments that you find strength that you never knew you had. Right. And, you know, a lot of that even comes from my faith. You know, I talk about that also in my book. And, you know, I'm grateful that I have that always to pull on, you know. And, you know, in addition to that, though, it's about being able to utilize the other resources that we have at our disposal.
Right.
I believe that success leaves clues. And if you look at anyone who's really been successful, and I don't mean people who've just been handed success, right? But people who have worked their way up the top. They've had the challenges, the adversity along the way, but they figure out a way to overcome it, to conquer it, right? And, you know, so I've called myself a lifelong student.
Yes.
So what I do is I look at the greats and I say, you know, I like to say that I'm standing on the shoulders of the greats, right? So that, you know, by being able to draw from their journeys and draw from their experience and their learning lessons, helps me to get through my own, right? And so, and I think and then we pay it forward. We do the same thing, right? It's all about being able to have one hand reaching forward and one hand reaching back, right? I believe that completes the circle of life.
Right. Absolutely. And so I want to mention here, and this is something that I'm learning, and I saw it here in the book. It's in the book. I'm not going to give away everything. There's a lot of nuggets in here. You're going to have to get this book. So that you said, life, like any other journey, like any other journey in life, there will always be bumps and challenges on the road ahead. But ultimately, it will be our persistence and our stick-to-itiveness which will determine whether or not we obtain and expect the expected end and promises of God. And this is resonated with me because just like, you know, I talked about detours in my journey, and, you know, you're driving in the city and there's like potholes and craters and what have you, and detours, and it may slow you down to get to your destination. It may prevent you from getting into an accident, right? So those detours are not always a bad thing. Sometimes you look at it like, oh my gosh, I can't, you know, another thing, but it's not always a bad situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the biggest irony of life, right? It's just like how in the moment it really feels like the sky is falling. It does. It feels like right. It feels just like that, Chicken Little. And, you know, and I admit, you know, and again, I'm vulnerable even in the book. I speak this from a place of experience because I know what it's like to be in those moments where you feel like your world is crashing down and there is no hope. But there's always that little voice in the inside of us, if we just listen, that reminds us that there's always hope. And as long as we take the time to listen to that voice, despite all the other outside chatter that we hear or in the things we see around us, then we'll figure out a way to be able to utilize those challenges, the adversity, the pain, the disappointment, the hurt, use it as a stepping stone to that next level of our journey, that next place of destiny for us, right? And that's the goal. The goal is, how can this work for my good? And I stand on that. I like to tell people that the inspiration for this book is Romans 8:28, that all things work together for the good for those who love God and are called according to his purpose. And, you know, I stand on that. Does it mean that I do things perfectly? No. Right. It means that I learn and I grow and then repeat, right? And I think it's the same for all of us. And that's why we have, you know, something so beautiful as community. And I love the community that you created with this self-love journey. I think more of that needs to be done, especially during times like this. Yes. Because we are not created to be an island. We're not created to go through this life alone and figure it out, right? And so it's when people, amazing individuals like yourself, can be able to recognize, see that there's a need, and then be able to draw people together so that we can find so there could be support within the circle. And, you know, and that's, you know, even in my life, I see how community has played a big part in my ability to bounce back from some of the most difficult times that I've experienced.
That's awesome. So I see this book, your testimony, as something that people can use for hope. Yes. So they can learn that, you know, that, as I said before, that those roadblocks are not necessarily roadblocks or obstacles to prevent you from getting to your goal. It is to help you maybe take a moment and slow down. Maybe you need to learn a few other lessons. Maybe the goal that you have is set too low. Maybe there's a greater goal for you, you know. And I've been reading this, and at this point in the book, you were working on your doctorate, and now you have it. Can you tell a little bit what happened after this book? What happened right after this book? Don't get into too much of the part two, but just a little bit. You know, what happened? Like once you wrote, I wrote my first book. It was just like, I did it. The book I'm looking at, I wrote this book. It was such an amazing feeling. What happened after you got your book?
Do you really want to know? Do you really want to know? Everything, all hell broke out. Honestly, I'll be honest. It's like the universe was testing me to say, prove it. Is this what you believe? Do you really believe this? I'm going to test you on everything you just wrote in that book. And I literally found myself having to go back to my own book and read it for encouragement because just anything that I felt like everything was thrown at me in the kitchen sink.
I didn't expect that.
Like, most people, and so,
and she's still smiling, people. She's still smiling.
Oh my God's grace. I can say I've had even darker moments since writing that book. So probably some of the darkest moments of my life took place after writing the book. And, you know, it's really by the grace of God that I can go about that. I'm still smiling and that he still gives me joy because life will always prove you and put you in situations where you have to make a decision, right? And that decision comes down, are you going to live what you actually speak on?
Right.
Or
go by faith or go by fear.
Exactly. Right. Every day we're faced with that decision, and we have to make that choice.
Right.
And repeatedly, I found myself in the same situation, and you know.
But the reward is great.
The reward is always great.
Yes.
The reward is always great. And one of the things that I've learned through that process, even what I would call that Detours to Destiny Part 2, what I learned through the next part of the journey is that being able to trust yourself, right? because, you know, I think back to like David in the Bible, and you think about when he had to fight Goliath, David reminded himself, wait, I was able to conquer the lion and the bear. So if I was able to conquer that, then surely I can conquer this Philistine.
Right.
And, you know, and that is the approach, right? So I had to look back and say, even when I was working on my dissertation, which I mean, when I tell you everything that could have went wrong, up to my computer crashing several months before my dissertation was due, and I lost almost 100 pages of work that was done at that time. Several months before graduation. So just not good.
It's not a good thing.
Not good at all, okay? Let me tell you.
I'm laughing about it now.
I can laugh about it now. But trust me, those were tears. It was definitely tears at the time that happened. You know, up until the point, you know, and the tears really fell when, quick deviation, the tears really fell when my chairperson told me that I would not be able to graduate. Yeah, she was just like, no, she said, there's no way you're going to be able to redo and catch up and finish this on time. So I'm going to have to decline your application that you just put in for graduation. I mean, the tears were flowing, okay? But after I wiped those tears,
you got to work.
Oh, I prayed. I went hard. I prayed. I began to write affirmations. Oh no, I am a doctor, and I will finish this dissertation, and this will be successful. And I went to work, and I literally did it. And I so even before I went to work, though, I had to get the approval to move forward, because at the time it was a complete roadblock. No, she was like, no, there's no way. You just might as well, you know, wait till the next semester. And I was determined. No, I was going to graduate that May. It was going to happen, because I went through too much up to that point to just give up at that time. And I prayed. I asked someone, an elder from my church, to pray with me, and fasted. And I was, by the grace of God, I got the green light. Then she reconsidered and said, you know what? I gave it another thought, and I said, I'm going to let you give it. I'm going to let you go for it. If you feel like you can get this done, I will approve your application for graduation. Nice. And when I tell you, I worked so hard. I didn't even, there was nothing else on my mind but that paper and that dissertation and graduating. Wow. And again, it was in that moment that I saw what I was capable of. Because I wrote, I mean, when it was all said and done, this was like over 200 pages. I'm trying to remember exactly. It could have been over 200 pages of work done in probably less than 2 months, maybe 2 months. Wow. Max, probably. Maybe 2.5. I'm not. But either way, this is a dissertation is something that takes months. Sometimes it will take a couple years to complete for some. And to know.
Fast track.
I know. Yes. It's
a heavy motivation.
Yes. It happened. And so it was really by the grace of God, and I'm grateful, and it showed me what I was capable of, and it reminded me that, you know, no matter how bad things look, there is always something good that can come out of the situation, and and that something good was I became the first doctor in my family. First doctor in my family, and when I say, I mean
a
both
doctor
sides.
Of what?
So I'm a doctor of leadership, strategic leadership is my actual degree. And so my mission is to continue to create new generational patterns in my family. And that was a new one. I did it with my bachelor's. I was the first to get my bachelor's, was the first to get my master's, and then I became the first to become a doctor in my family.
That's phenomenal. Kudos to you for never giving up, because someone else's perception doesn't have to be our reality.
Exactly.
Right? So your counselor, whatever she thought, that's what she thought, but that wasn't what was real. You know, you did what you intended to do.
Right.
And congratulations to you for that.
Yes, and she was my chairperson she was the chairperson of my doctoral committee, which means she had the power to decide whether or not I graduated or not. Wow. And it's like, even to have to depend on God prompting the heart of an individual that is control of your destiny, and that to that degree you feel like they're in control. They can say yes or no.
Right.
You know, that in itself was that was a faith moment, an absolute faith moment. So that which I just described is really a story of faith and perseverance, right? So I had that faith for what I couldn't control. I couldn't control that she would say green light, okay, yes, I'll give you the extra time to finish this. You know, so that I had to exercise faith. And then for the actual doing the work, the dissertation, I had to exercise perseverance, and I had to go to work. Like, it wasn't nobody's business. I went to work, and thankfully it paid off.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, what message do you want to tell the audience on their people that are on their self-love journey?
Yeah. So, if you're watching this today, it means that you have breath in your lungs. And if you have breath in your lungs, then it means that you have a purpose and a destiny to fulfill. And I don't need to know everything that you're going through, right? I do know from experience that life is tough. And so I could only imagine what your family may have experienced the past couple years as the world changed as we know it. But even with those changes, I want you to know today that one thing that has not changed is the call on your life, the purpose on your life, the destiny that you have been called to has not changed. And so regardless of what you have gone through or are currently going through, don't you ever give up.
That's right.
Find something. If you got to dig deep, baby. Because guess what? Greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. Anything that's coming against you. And so just know that you have everything that you need to be successful, that you are equipped for every project, every purpose, every dream, every vision. You have been equipped for it, and you are more than enough to handle it. And so I want you to go out there. I want you to go do the darn thing. I want you to own your greatness. And I want you to do it while being unapologetically you.
That is awesome. You don't have to say any more. After that, that's it. That's it. Just thank you for your time. Thank you for your sharing your life and your talents and your testimony with us. And like I said, I'm people, get this book. Get the book, and I'm looking forward to the next book.
Oh, it's coming.
Yes,
it is coming.
So just really quick, so you are you working with people? Are you sharing, like, do you do workshops?
Yeah.
So what do you do? I know you do a lot of things. But how can people get in contact with you for like workshops and to speak and
Yeah, absolutely. I do. I am for those who may not know, I also do, in addition to writing, I speak, and I also am a strategist and transformational coach. And so I help walk people through their own transitions.
That's
and
awesome.
Help them to be able to transform their lives, their businesses, and their health. Because I do believe that health is wealth, and that it's the cornerstone, the foundation, rather, of how we build our successful lives. And so I do workshops. Anything from the realm of leadership to also focusing on one's own self-care, right? So making sure that we are eating properly, making sure that we are taking care of our temple so that we can be successful in whatever endeavors that we're pursuing. And for those who would be interested in any type of workshop or having me come out to speak, you can contact me. Feel free to reach me. You could also contact me through social media. First, I'd say you can find me at Keanna Lynette. So I use my pen name for my social media. So Keanna Lynette, and that's on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And then also, it's a bit long, but my email address is info@DCI Consulting Services. And so it's DCI Consulting Services. And so, I would love to hear from you and help however I can. Just reach out.
Thank you again. Thank you
My
again.
pleasure.
And hopefully you'll come back.
Absolutely. Just let me know.
Yes.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
All right, thank you. And thank you. So, this week's affirmations are inspired by Dr. Keanna Ralph's interview. So, anytime we do affirmations, we're just speaking positive words over ourselves, knowing that words have power and that we want to say positive words to other people. And we definitely want to say positive words about ourselves because what we think, we become. So I'm going to say it first and then you can say it with me, or you can come up with your own affirmations. I encourage you to come up with your own affirmations as well and to speak life over yourself daily. I am more than enough. I am more than enough. I am equipped to be successful. I am equipped to be successful. I am owning my own greatness. I am owning my own greatness. Thank you again for tuning in. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to the Self-Love Journey with Namibia YouTube channel. And tell a friend.